So can you see that a large part of the American diet is made up of this hybridized wheat? So the wheat that God made originally was called Encorn. And Encorn wheat has a very fragile protein or gluten structure. Now that fragile protein or gluten structure is very important because it means that in the grinding process, in the cooking process, in the chewing process, in the enzymes in the gut, it is easily broken down. And it is not sure when, a couple of thousand years ago, a wild grass did a field hybrid with the Encorn and came up with the Emma form of wheat. And this Emma form of wheat is not as fragile as the Encorn, but still fairly fragile. Then in the 1950s, this Emma wheat was put through intensive crossbreeding and came up with a hybridized wheat. What was never addressed was the effect of that hybridized wheat on the human body. No one objects to more grain coming so the farmers can pay their bills and more grain coming to help with the starvation crisis. But what was never addressed was the effect of that grain on the human body. It created an incredibly complex protein or gluten structure, and almost only a cast iron gut can break down that complex structure. So you look at the time frame. Worldwide in the 70s, by the 1990s, this is all the hybridized wheat. I've got a friend who's a physician. She said, Barbara, 40 years ago you never heard of gluten intolerance, notice? Even 20 years ago you didn't hear of much. But today it is so common, isn't it? So many people. All you have to do is to go into a section in the supermarket and look at gluten-free. It's huge. And of course, all the supermarkets have on their shelves are what the public demands. Is that right? There's so many people with the gluten intolerance. It's almost only a cast iron gut that can break that down. And so when the gut can't break it down, again, partially digested molecules are getting into the blood. It increases the mucus coming in the eustachian tubes and lining the gastrointestinal tract are villi, and over the gastrointestinal tract is a thick mucosa wall, and it's made up of Lactobacillus acidophilus. You've heard of those friendly bacteria. Now the cells that line this gut are remade every 3 to 5 days. They're made here, they travel up, and away they go. But if a person has had antibiotics, that knocks off the gut flora. I think we all know that. And if a person is on the statin drugs, those cholesterol-lowering drugs, that knocks it off. If a person is on cortisone, that knocks it back. If they're on a lot of painkillers, that knocks it back. And I know it's been in the news a lot lately, how many deaths in America a year to opiates? A lot of Americans, it's no different in Australia either, are becoming addicted to the over-the-counter pain-killing medication. So this cell lining the gut is a very happy cell because it's nourished by the gut flora. This cell here is a very unhappy cell. No, sorry, it's got gut flora. Here. This cell here is a very unhappy one. There's no gut flora to nourish it. Now, when dairy and wheat break down in the gut and the enzymes aren't breaking it down efficiently, the wheat breaks down to glutamorphine. And the dairy breaks down to caseomorphine. Now, what's morphine? It's an opiate derivative. So this is caseomorphine, and this is glutamorphine. Let's follow the journey of glutamorphine. It comes here to the happy cell. And because it's well nourished and working well, it can knock off the morphine so only gluto gets in. Same with the caseo. It can knock off the morphine so only caseo gets in. So that person can handle the wheat and the dairy a little better. But if the caseo-morphine and the glutamorphine come here, that undernourished cell cannot knock off the morphine. So glutamorphine and caseomorphine are getting into the blood, going to the brain. The opiate receptor sites pick it up, and there are several books showing the link between mental illness and these foods today. Whoa. Now can you see we've got a couple of problems there? One problem is this difficult to digest foods. Another problem is a breakdown in gut flora, because unfortunately we are a highly medicated society today, aren't we? Now I'm not here to bear all bad news. There is a remedy, and the remedy is to build up that gut lining. You know, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, he said all disease begins in the gut. So how do we build the gut? How to build the gut is to take probiotics. And probiotics can come in and build up that nice gut lining. Also aloe vera. And you can get quite nice aloe vera bottles of juice. You just check the ingredients. You don't want sugar, but you can sometimes get it in apple juice. Not a bad idea to give the family a dose of that 3/4 of an hour before breakfast, and then a little bit of aloe vera juice before breakfast. That certainly helps. They help to build up the gut lining. And there's another herb that helps, and that's slippery elm. And as the name implies, when you put water with it, it goes a bit slippery. So really it's that one or that one, because they both coat, soothe, heal and line the gastrointestinal tract. So that's building the gut. But to build the gut, you also must stop what irritates. So these three here must be stopped.